Adriana, tell me about your recent research studies for Horowitz.
Yeah, so we actually have a bunch of studies that we just finished with and are distributing to our clients. My personal love is ethnographic and qualitative research. So, our viewing the viewer ethnography. You saw some of the videos from that this morning. We're just putting the final touches on that, and I think our clients are really going to love the viewing the viewer ethnography this year because we really explore the differences between those 6 television, the new TV universe segments that I introduced in the presentation earlier. And of course, in this presentation, I can only really give a little bit of a flavor of what the different segments are all about, but the videography really explores the important differences and opportunities in each of those segments, especially in those leading edge segments, the modern multi-channels, the modern families, and also the untethered curators, that includes cord cutters and cord shavers and all that. So I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, we have our new State of Cable and Digital Media study, which I lose count, but I think it's in its 25th edition. I could be wrong. But we're just releasing that. We just released that to clients as well, and of course that's where we get a sense of where the market is going, where it's been, and what consumers are doing about all of their traditional and new television technologies. So that's super exciting as well. There's a whole bunch of things we're working on, but mostly those 2 things are the most recent studies that we've released.
So tell me what the 6 segments are.
So the 6 segments of the new TV universe, we start with 3 segments that we would call sort of old TV segments. They're consumers that are much more, entrenched in traditional television behaviors. We have the old schoolers, who are, the oldest segment. They tend to watch very, very little television to begin with, and what they watch is like the news and things like that, and they watch it live mostly, almost uniquely, without using any digital or over-the-top services to any extent. Then we have the spectators. That's the next segment. The spectators are your typical lean-back TV viewer. They watch a lot of TV. They really enjoy watching a lot of TV. Those are those households that have the TV on all the time. But because the TV is just ever present in their home, they really spend most of their time watching live, and still very little in the way of even DVR, VOD, or OTT. We've got the traditional curators, and we call them traditional because they are curating their content. They are picking and choosing what they watch and when they watch it. But the way they're doing that is using the more digitally delivered ways to curate VOD and DVR, and they don't really use OTT to any great extent. Then we have the 3 new TV segments. So those segments are the modern multi-channels, and we call them the modern multi-channels because they do it all. They have the highest pay TV penetration, they use VOD, they use DVR, and they use OTT. They watch a lot of television, so they have to juggle all these different platforms to be able to watch all the content they want. We have the modern families, and we call them modern families because they actually over-index on being family households. But this is an interesting bunch. They spend about half of their time watching live television, sports, big sort of tentpole shows and broadcast dramas and things like that. And then the other half of the time they're streaming, but they're not using VOD or DVR to any great extent. And then finally, the sort of segment on the leading edge of all the leading edge segments are the untethered curators. And that includes cord cutters, it includes cord shavers, cord nevers. It also includes multi-channel subscribers who just, even though they have multi-channel, they still really actually rely more on streaming. And among that segment, about over 85% of their viewing time is actually streamed. So those are the 6 segments of the new TV universe. And we have a lot of data about what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're watching, and who they are.
So we use the word curation. Can you tell me what you mean by curation, and how does curation vary by segment?
So that's curation, as we define it, is really the ability of consumers to be selective about, or viewers to be selective about the content they watch, when they watch it, and on what platform they watch it. and also to be able to curate their viewing experience in the sense of, as we were speaking about in my presentation, the binge watching and that kind of experience that brings. So to me, that's all about curation. It's about curating the television experience. And there is a big difference by segment. Of course, the folks on the more leading edge, in the more leading edge segments, are much more likely to be engaging in the binge watching and things like that. Whereas the traditional curators, for example, who can also curate content, are doing so with VOD and DVR. So they're less about the binging experience and more about just keeping up with, let's say, the last episode of a show before the next episode airs. So it's a real different experience, and of course, we expect to see that those traditional curators will sort of slide into the OTT space eventually.
What would you say is the #1 industry game changer going on right now?
So absolutely, I definitely think it's OTT. We've seen that in our study where the segments that are more OTT dependent has grown from 31% to 34% just in 1 year. The 3 segments have grown as a whole, and specifically the segments that do the most streaming are the ones that have gotten even bigger. And as more and more consumers discover OTT, whether it's because they decide to seek out a show that they've heard about and there is no other way for them to find it except for to go on Hulu Plus or to go on Netflix or something like that. As they discover the experience and discover how actually convenient it is and easy it is to use, I think we'll see more and more consumers really starting to adopt OTT technologies.